Maria Huerta, Mental Health Liaison for WACSEP.
I'm Vivian Rodriguez-Eads, Program Administrator for WACSEP.
Hi, everyone. I'm Edgar Roscoe, School Psychologist Intern with WACSEP.
So just some reminders on Zoom etiquette. All participants' microphones are muted. If you have questions for the presenter, you can put them in the chat, but we will not be answering questions today because we want to keep it in the 30-minute window. We are happy to answer questions at a later time via email. Please note that cameras are also turned off and this specific series is being recorded. And just a reminder as who WACSEP is, we are your special education local planning agency. So we work in conjunction with your school district to provide a continuum of services and placements, staff and parent education, interagency collaboration, and administrative support that will ensure high quality individual, free and appropriate public education for individuals with disabilities. Although this specific training is not just for families of students identified as exceptional needs. We welcome all families. Just a disclaimer, the information presented, it's a part of a series of a broad introductions of topics covered. So it's a little piece of information of evidence-based practices. We will have a list of resources that'll be included on the topic at the end. Remember that when you're considering the specific techniques that we're discussing, keep your own unique child needs in mind. And in terms of COVID-19, we are all experiencing very unique challenges during these very unprecedented times. Because of the pandemic, we're learning how to navigate the changes as well as distance learning, and the disruption of familiar routines and activities and schedules impact your child and your children in very different ways, very much the way that it impacts us each as individuals differently. So the concepts and evidence-based strategies that we're discussing again are intended to support you in supporting your child at home. But remember, always consider your child's unique needs before implementing any specific strategy. Just a simple reminder. Go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
So this is an unprecedented time of stress and uncertainty for all of us. We want to remember to be patient with ourselves and others, and self-care is giving the world the best of you instead of what's left of you. So today we'll be talking about co-regulation and how what we do impacts, what I feel impacts how you feel.
Okay, so we're going to do a poll question. I think that, I don't know if our host, if the poll question is available for the parents to do. There's 2 questions for them to do.
Looking right now.
Yeah, if not, we can just do it in the chat box. So while we look at, okay, so we'll just do it in the chat box. So we have 2 poll questions for you. So the first one would be, are there times that you are able to remain calm during a stressful situation with your child? Okay. And then the second one is going to be, do you feel that your reactions to a situation influence your child's reaction? So in the chat box, we'll do the first one. So you can just put a yes or no, or sometimes, you know, in terms of, are you able to remain calm during stressful situations with your child? And we'll just look for that to kind of get into the chat box.
We have a couple of yeses.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Great. Okay. See if anybody else wants to respond.
Depends on the situation. Sometimes.
Okay. And then the second question is, do you feel that your reactions to a situation influence your child's reaction? So you can respond yes or no, sometimes, same thing.
Definitely. We have yes.
Yeah, okay, yes. Okay. Another yes.
Yes. Another
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right, anybody else? Okay. So the responses you have indicate that you've noticed that your reactions can influence your child's reactions. But the good news is that you've also noticed that there are times when you're able to stay calm during a stressful situation, and that there's moments that go well. So I want you to think about those moments during this presentation. Keep those in mind, because those are probably the times you've been able to help your child calm down. And those are the times you actually probably practiced co-regulation without even noticing it. So we'll go to the next slide. All right, today's topics. Oh, you're going to do that. Go ahead.
Okay, today's topics covered include what is co-regulation, how can regulating your emotional state help your child regulate herself or himself, and strategies to co-regulate. So what we're going to talk about today overlaps with the self-regulation discussion that we had a few weeks ago. Next slide. And some of the parent and caregiver questions that we have received are, what are coping skills to practice with my child on how to avoid them getting stressed or worried? What are some tips to help me be more patient with my son or daughter when he or she becomes frustrated, or when I become frustrated when he or she doesn't listen to me? And we hope that these questions will be answered in our discussion today. Edgar?
Sorry, I was muted. So Dr. Dan Siegel stated that how we experience the world, relate to others, and find meaning in life are dependent on how we have come to regulate our emotions. So in other words, our emotions can influence how we interpret situations and relationships. So it starts with caregivers. Some of the concepts we discuss in this presentation do overlap with our presentation on self-regulation. We discussed that a child's self-regulation starts with the parents and the caregivers. So what is co-regulation? It is the interactive process between a caregiver and a child in a supportive relationship. It involves as the child develops and grows. And it also reorganizes the child's emotional state by clarifying the emotional intent that the child may have. And why is co-regulation important? Our own emotions are contagious to those around us. It also facilitates the development of confidence to learn new skills and recover from mistakes. It builds resilience, kindness, empathy, and flexibility. It also lets us internalize our emotional experiences and organize what emotions we are currently experiencing rather than just being overwhelmed by them. Co-regulation as an opportunity. The moments that we feel most challenging as a parent, where we feel overburdened, overwhelmed, confused, are actually the very moments you can see as opportunities. So what we want to reframe these situations as opportunities to teach. Go back to that situation when you were able to remain calm. That is a time when you are modeling and teaching to your child.
All right, ways to utilize co-regulation. So we're going to talk about some different strategies and techniques that you can use to implement co-regulation. The first one's going to be Name It to Tame It from Dr. Dan Siegel. Then we'll talk about zones of regulation, the size of the problem, and then finally the 5-point scale. So the key is to model regulating yourself and use the same tool to assist your child in regulating themselves. Okay, you can go to the next slide. All right, Name It to Tame It. So Dr. Dan Siegel talks a lot about how we can use our emotions to inform us instead of overwhelm us. So when we're having an intense emotional response, your brain begins to create stress hormones to prepare for action, like that fight or flight. And so it takes over your nervous system. So the stress response is helpful when we're in danger, but it's not helpful when you're in a situation that's just part of your daily life. Go to the next slide. So with Name It to Tame It, what you're going to want to do, and first you're going to be doing this for yourself and modeling it for your child. So all of these techniques will be things you're doing yourself, and kind of through them seeing you, then you can implement with them. So first you're going to stop and pause to recognize how you feel And then you're going to name the feeling. And by naming it, the brain can begin to calm down. And then you're going to use those self-regulation tools to continue to calm down. So for example, with your child, if they're upset about something that happened on the Zoom and they're beginning to like throw something or, kind of, you can just tell that they seem a little agitated. You could say, oh, you seem like you're upset. So starting to name it, because sometimes kids don't have the language to tell you, they just are showing you. And then going through those steps. The other thing we want to talk about is zones of regulation. So this is a framework used to foster self-regulation and emotional control. The zones use colors similar to like traffic signs, and the caregivers can use the zones themselves to model self-regulation. And also the colors can provide language and visuals to identify the feelings. So what we're going to be continuing to say is that for kids, they don't have the language to kind of tell you how they're feeling. And so you're going to be using different terminology to give them that so that you have information so that you can help them regulate themselves. Go to the next slide. All right, so this is zones of regulation. You've probably seen it around. This is one of the handouts you're going to receive as part of tonight's presentation. And so it has the different colors, the blue zone, the green zone, yellow zone, and red zone. And they're all kind of attached to these different emotions. And what it does, you can go back. What it does is it normalizes the experience of the experiencing range of emotions. Emotions are not bad or good. They are just emotions. The green zone is the ideal one though for learning. And so what would we be doing is, if I'm feeling a little tired, I'd say to my son, for instance, oh, I feel like I'm in the blue zone right now, and then, when I'm feeling a little bit more alert, oh, I'm in the green zone, I'm ready for learning. So you can state what zone you're in and how you use your tools to help you get back to the green zone. You can go to the next one. Okay, this is a really helpful tool. There's times where, we have big reactions to problems that are not that, big. And so you can model for your child how you match the size of the problem to your reaction. And this helps us make sure we don't overreact to a problem or underreact to a problem. And what I like about this, what's helpful is it has the colors, right, that correspond more or less to the zones of regulation. It also has the facial expressions so that you can say, a car accident, wow, that's a huge problem. And your reaction, would be big for that. But if my son can't find an iPad or something, that's a medium problem. Let's try to figure it out. And so you can talk about, matching you can go through like how you would react to a problem based on how big it is. And so it just gives you some language and kind of a bridge to be able to talk about emotional reactions or responses to situations. Okay, so 5-point scale, another really helpful tool. Again, it gives you visuals to kind of be able to help your child understand or label their emotions. And so how you would use this is you would say, along with the size of the problem and zones, you could model how to monitor your different emotional levels. So for example, you could say, oh, I feel like a 4. I'm really angry right now. I'm going to take some deep breaths to get down to a 3. So this is something that you can use with your child. Wow, you're like at a 5 right now. And even to process a situation afterwards, and go, how did you get down to a 3? Oh, you're at a 1. Awesome. How did you do that? And so I would self-talk how I'm getting down to, a lower number and being able to regulate myself. And this could be something that's up in your kitchen or whatever, so that it's a visual and you're modeling that for them. And then you have language that's consistent too.
And if I may interject,
Yeah.
this is something that you can do every day as well. Practice is going to be really important. Remember, when we're calm, as Vivian is stating, bringing it into our day in, day out. So you can even say, hey, what kind of day did you have today? What do you think you're at? Maybe at dinner or first thing in the morning. How are you feeling? I think I'm feeling as I'm doing okay. I got a 2. Oh, wow. What helped you get to a 2? And then that helps you correlate certain things that get you to a 1, a 2, a 3, 4, or 5 without them being actually like really upset at the 5. It helps for us to recognize, listening to music really gets me to that 2. or taking a walk really helps to get me to that too. And then you're having those discussions, so we're prompting and reminding what gets us to those different scale numbers.
Right. And like Maria's saying, it's important to practice these. You want to practice talking through being regulated and being calm so that they're more willing to listen to you. If we try to pull these out when kids are already dysregulated, there's less, you're not going to get that far. You got to try to practice it over and over again so that they're familiar with it, so you can actually use it as a tool to, to regulate help your child regulate themselves, and for you to kind of regulate yourself as well. So it would be like just consistently practicing so they become familiar with the terminology. Okay. And also because it's visual, that can help with, if a child is nonverbal. So these techniques can be modified depending on developmental level, all the way up to teenager or to toddler. It's just, again, practicing and making it something that you're really familiar with, and so is your child, so that you can use it when you need it.
And they can even point to the faces as opposed to the numbers. If they can't identify the numbers yet, you can point to which face looks like how you're feeling today. They can just point to it, and then you'll have a better idea as well.
And you'll get this in the handout along with the size of the problem and the zones. In the handout for the 5-point scale, it's blank. So you can put that in, like she said, and they can make the faces and everything too. Okay. All right. So we want to, additional ways to model co-regulation. Be aware of your own emotions or reactions during stressful situations. This time that we're going through right now is stressful. It's probably harder for you to remain calm throughout the day. You might have days, or if you've had maybe weeks that are just really tough. So you want to model more of what you want to see in your children. Practice responding to challenging situations with a calm tone. So low and slow is going to help your child not be activated and reactive. You want to model deep breathing and taking a break when you're stressed. So if your child is seeming to be getting escalated, I'm going to take a break for a second right now. So modeling what you'd want to see them do. This is not something that would overnight work. You have to practice it. And again, just helping them understand feelings are okay, but behaviors need limits.
So something that's very important for all of us really is routines and rituals. Consider how your routines are contributing to the self-regulation. Create a predictable, consistent environment with clear expectations. Review your child's response to your routines and make adjustments as necessary. So we've learned a lot in this pandemic. And I think one of the big factors that we have learned universally is the importance of what our routine means to us, whether we're an adult or a child. Having that expectation of what's Monday going to look like, Tuesday, Wednesday, the weekdays versus the weekend, that's really critical, and it's made a huge impact for us. So we create our routines. So it's important that you create a routine and that you stay with it as much as you can. And if you're not able to, and ahead of time, that you prime or you let your child know ahead of time. Just like we like a heads up or a courtesy, hey, it's going to look a little different on this day, so that we know, okay, I'm going to go in, it's not going to look the same. I'm going to prepare myself for the changes. That helps us to be calm and to be regulated. It helps kids to be calm and regulated as well. So it also adds to no surprises. So if they're expecting something to happen, then it's important that the best of our capacity that we maintain those routines to the best of our ability. At the same time, we also want to recognize when routines are not working anymore. It's okay to go back and say, you know what, this routine was working really great when I first started, but it's not working for us anymore. Is it, Billy or Anna, or whatever your child's name is? What is a new routine that we might want to look at? And then creating something different. So consistency is important, but so is maintaining effectiveness. So if you see a routine isn't working anymore, then it's okay to tweak it and then create a brand new routine. What we want to avoid is adding something different each and every time, when, as parents, we want to go through our bag of tricks when our child is dysregulated, because we want to help them. And sometimes we're getting frustrated and not knowing, I don't know what's this didn't work. Let me try this. This didn't work. This, let me try something different. If we are consistent, it makes a huge difference. So we want to maintain that structure and that consistency, and then review how our child is responding to the routine so that if we need to make adjustments, we're making them as we're creating them.
And I wanted to add to that, if your child is able to participate in the creation of the routine, you can reflect on, hey, this week was kind of hard, or today, you know what, this didn't work. Why don't we try this? And so that they buy into it, they own the routine. But like she said, we want to monitor and adjust. We don't want to be sticking to a routine if it's creating problems, or if maybe just one little tweak is going to make a big difference to have a more calm environment.
And if we have kids that may struggle with expression or they're nonverbal, then we look at their behaviors. What are their behaviors communicating to us? Are we seeing that they seem calmer or more receptive to a specific routine or strategy, or is it creating angst and stress? So our kids communicate to us verbally as well as non-verbally with their behaviors. Next. So we want to remember the relaxation techniques. So remember mindfulness, where we are taking a moment and being present. The the five senses exercises. Remember, we're going to look around and what are five things that I see? What are five things that I hear or smell? So remember the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And although what we presented in the self-regulation, it was a specific sense, you can pick whatever five you want. It could be 5 hearing, 4 taste, 3. The focus is not the order of the senses. The focus is redirecting and having your child or yourself focus on something different. So you have that mindfulness activity. And then we also discussed the coloring, the deep breathing, the diaphragmatic breathing, the smelling the flowers, and blowing out the candle. And then, of course, the yoga moves that we introduced, some very basic ones, but we want to be careful and listen to our body so that we are not putting any unnecessary strain and potential injury.
All right, so you're going to want to go slow to go fast. So you're going to keep in mind that this is a long-term strategy that will take time. And you're building a relationship in a different way because, again, you're going to be modeling kind of being more reflective, calmer, and looking at, you know, the emotions and naming them and that self-talk. And you're going to get more information about your child too through this process. So I think that if we look at it as being curious about, oh, that's really, you know, upsetting them. Okay, how can I model to work through this? And it takes work to keep yourself regulated. We are not perfect. This situation is hard, you know, and day in, day out. So, you know, be patient with yourself. It's okay if you have days that are rougher than others. But I think the point is that you're still trying and you're reflecting, and then you're also modeling that for your child, and you will see over time that that'll start to kind of come together. Okay, resources. So The Whole Brain Child is a book by Dr. Dan Siegel, talks a lot about co-regulation, self-regulation, talks about how to talk about the brain with the child too. So there's a lot of resources there in that book. Zones of Regulation, you'll get the handouts with the chart and size of the problem. But if you want more information, you can go to this website, and it also has the book, and it just breaks it down, and it has a lot of activities and kind of visuals that you could use to talk about regulation. And then finally, the incredible 5-point scale. That's another resource that you can look up. And there's a lot of, you know, kind of different types, you know, so see what will work for your child and what they respond to. So that's also a resource for you. Okay, and that's it. So thank you for taking the time to join us. We hope that the resources and information are, you know, resonated with you and will be helpful for you and your child. And we're right at 5:25.
And I'd like to add that we recognize that the techniques are not easy to do where you're in the moment, which is why we emphasize the importance of practicing, because as a parent myself, I know I have been guilty of impacting my child's behavior with my own dysregulation. and having to really work on it so that I am modeling self-regulation in order to build it. So it is a journey, but these are some tools that you can take on your journey that we really hope is helpful. Thank you for your time. I know everybody's super busy and we really appreciate you stopping in to join us.
And thank you. When we close the webinar this evening, you will receive a evaluation pop-up. Please click the link and fill out the evaluation so we can add some more presentations and get your feedback. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Right.